Hello, everyone. Welcome to Leadership from the Heart. Hi, Miss Elizabeth Riley, my favorite co-host on the planet.
Hello, you're looking very, very fancy in your fancy office and studio. I love it. You
Well,
glad to be
thank
back?
you. I am so excited to be back and well, not back, but the first time really in the studio. And could we have had a better guest than Nicole Lopez, founder of True Houston? You are a rock star, and I'm so excited to share a conversation with you. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. It's definitely a pleasure to be here. Going back and looking at the list of guests that you guys have had, some super powerful names. I know you guys had Glenn Sanford and Joe Rand and Aaron Kerman and all of these amazing folks. So I'm definitely humbled and blessed to be here. So thank you.
We're super excited to get to know you and for everybody to get to know you a little bit better and what you're doing in good old Houston, Texas. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
So tell us, Nicole, tell us a little about yourself and your team.
Yeah, awesome. So I run a boutique style team-based brokerage. So we're kind of like that team brokerage hybrid here in the historic Houston Heights. My agents are spread out throughout the city, but we've got our local location right here in the heart of Houston to serve as a hub for not only our agents, but for our clients as well. I have a team of 9 amazing women, support staff. We are all female, so girl power.
Absolutely.
I love it.
So we're all female, and we're super excited. We're actually gearing up to have one of the best years on record, definitely best October we've had on record. And I do serve at the local association level as a director for the Houston Association of Realtors, and also state for the Texas Association of Realtors. So very, very excited.
One of the many things that I've come to know and love about you, Nicole, is how focused you are on community and giving back. You're giving back in your local board of realtors and just the way you give back as a team. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, I believe in our industry, it's so important to give back to our community. One of the things that you always speak about, Renee, is being the mayor of your city, being the mayor of your town. And in real estate, it's so important to be tuned into all of the different facets, whether it be city council or what's going on with the restaurants and what's going on with the schools. It's so important to be tuned into that. And I've been blessed to be able to be a part of that from the association level, whether it be serving on the board. And I'm also a trustee for the Texas Realtors Political Action Committee. So I serve on the PAC as well, because I do believe if you're in real estate, politics is your business as well. And so I think that's part of being a well-rounded real estate professional. It's definitely something that I encourage all of the women on our team to partake in as well.
Go ahead, Elizabeth.
No. Go ahead.
That's interesting. I hadn't thought of it quite the way you just phrased it, Nicole, but you said politics is a part of our business. Mm-hmm. That's really interesting. And I find that a really good way to frame it, because we always talk about relationships, right? So how does the political element come into play?
Yeah, it's a huge part of what we do, right? Like, being in Texas, and next year we're coming up on a legislative session, and there are some very homeowner and real estate unfriendly pieces of legislation that are going to be up in session. Some things that we're looking at for this session is the control of homeowners associations, and how they're able to charge capitalization fees, and what they can charge and how they're regulated. Because in Houston, especially, it's starting to get out of hand. There are things like transfer tax and sales tax on professional services, sales tax on professional vehicles. So on the vehicle you drive to work every day. Those are things that we work with our local elected officials to kind of educate them about, what our industry does and how much money it brings into the economy. It's just like when COVID happened, and the Houston Association of Realtors was one of the first ones to be able to speak with our local elected officials to say, hey, real estate needs to stay essential. And that's been so incredibly important, especially when you think about other states in our country that, even as of today, they're still not considered an essential service, and they're still not back at work. And so that's kind of how that all ties in. It benefits our homeowners. It keeps property taxes low. It keeps those cap rates staying where they need to be. You know, in Houston, it's 10%. So they can't increase more than 10% if it's your homestead. Those are things that we talk about and fight and work on a daily basis. So it's not just how we sell homes, because without knowing the background of what's happening politically, we may not have an industry to work in the future.
Do you find that there's a gap or a void in engagement from the real estate industry and in the realtors, and not realizing why this is so important?
Oh, 110%. I wholeheartedly believe in that. In Houston, our participation rate for agents that contribute to the PAC is around 38, 39%. And so we have a huge amount of real estate professionals that either, number one, they don't understand. And I think that's the biggest piece of it, is just the education and the understanding of what those dollars do. 100% of the private dollars that we raise, so someone like you and me make a contribution to the PAC, 100% of that is used towards supporting elected officials that back realtor and homeowner rights. And it is a nonpartisan effort. In Texas, we're about 49-51 DNR. So it's really split down the middle. We consider ourselves the realtor party.
You know, it's interesting you talk about that, because I'm in Texas as well, right? And I'm in Austin, and what you're talking about is so important. And it's something that I'm not as involved as you are on that side, but supporting financially, right? Mm-hmm. And with my vote and things like that, I'm absolutely engaged. I think it's an education thing. I think, unfortunately, our industry is so transactional, right? And so you've got the three of us that approach this as a business, and we have teams or semi-teams, right? And we're looking at it more than such a transactional business, but so many agents that are getting into the business or that are in the business aren't doing the types of volume that we are. And so those decisions don't mean much to them, or they don't know, or it doesn't impact them like it would with us or as an industry. So I just think it's a non-education for us. When our fees are paid, you can opt in or say, oh no, I don't want to pay that, but there's no explanation to what that is. And I think if there was more explanation and more education, people would be like, oh, the little light bulb would go off. But again, there's too many people not doing many deals that they're chasing that next dollar. They're not approaching it as a business, and so they don't know. And because of their, I don't want to use the word ignorance, but lack of knowledge, it affects so many more people on a bigger, grander scheme than they realize. So I love that you're involved in that. And I've never really thought to get as involved as you are. I've always supported, but you know, it's something I definitely would want to reconsider.
Yeah, just as a frame of reference, since you're in Texas as well, and so a lot of the same legislation that impacts me impacts you. Without some of the wins that TreePack has made over the last, let's call it 5 to 7 years or so, in terms of pieces of legislation that were either dropped or added, if you have done $7 million in production, it has saved you $33,000 in additional taxes that would have had to be paid either to the state or federally at the end of the year. So it is very, very much worth the realtor's time in looking into.
I'm loving that you're putting pressure on the conversation, Nicole, because it is a lack of agents haven't had the chance to dive in, and they don't realize when they're filling out, it's one little check. And it seems like it's almost too easy to uncheck, to eliminate that line item of what they're perceiving as an expense, as opposed to keep the check and consider it an investment to lift up the industry and be led by more realtor-focused initiatives.
Absolutely.
So it's good that you're putting pressure on that.
Thank you.
I would love to switch gears a little bit, because I know how awesome you are and focused in mindset. And I wanted to kind of take a deeper dive into, we've all been faced with adversity in 2020. Talk to us a little bit about how you coach your agents and how you are all staying mindset healthy
Yeah, absolutely. So we thrive in the mindset of abundance versus scarcity, and we spoke about a little bit about that before we went live. And it's waking up and being grateful for what you do have, and being grateful for the opportunities that are being put in front of you every single day. And one of the things that I do with my agents is we sit down, we do one-on-ones every single week. So they get half an hour to an hour with me every single week. We talk about their goals and we figure out what their why is. I sit with them and say, okay, like at the end of the year, what does this look like for you? Or if you are to, perform X, Y, and Z, what is your gift to yourself going to be? And so when we dig down and we figure out the why and we figure out the big motivators, the rest kind of falls into place, because then I know how to appropriately guide and coach towards, you said you wanted to take your family to Disney. We've already set up that Disney fund. We're already paying in. I know. We're going to see Renee.
Come see me in Orlando.
But we've already started that process, right? So I kind of look outside of, okay, how much do you want to sell? And what does this mean for your family? Especially being an all-female team, all of us are very much concerned with our families and how we can supplement and impact what it is our family is able to do, and making sure that no one struggles. I hate seeing that when someone loses that sight, loses that motivation, and then we have to work through that challenge. It happens frequently. As real estate, we tend to do this. We go through the hills and valleys, and it's really been keeping that abundance mindset and staying extremely focused on what our whys are and what our goals are.
Mindset's been a really big conversation for, I think, a lot of people, even before the pandemic, but especially with the pandemic. And I think it was pretty eye-opening for people, not realizing, oh my goodness, what I do have or what I didn't realize I have. So keeping those conversations, Renee and I talk about this all the time, keeping those doors open, keeping those conversations going, knowing that we're all having challenges in our own way. And it's not just one area that's being impacted, it's everybody, right? And so, the three of us might relate a little bit more because we all have kids and how we're struggling with this, or it's finding that common denominator as humans and reconnecting and staying engaged. And I think regardless of industry, it just builds us all up and helps us be better coming out of this. And we kept saying, months ago, when we come out of this, and we thought it might be a month or two, and now it's already October 1st. And so there might not ever be a coming out of it, but we certainly can be better as we move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing that I changed is the amount in which I had to listen rather than speak. That's been really huge. I changed our office structure. I'm changing what that looks like. Like, for example, prior to COVID, I live in a 1910 Victorian that was renovated as a duplex. So first floor, second floor, right? And we live first floor. And then I have the best commute to work because my office is second floor. And so we have our private office space. We have kitchen, bathrooms, lounge, all of that is upstairs in my home. But, through COVID, nobody was coming into the office. And, now that we're starting to kind of shift back into having an office, it's not the same vibe anymore, right? People do like going to that more formal office space, where before this really great hangout space in Nicole's house was the place to be. Now, they want dedicated workspace. And it took me really focusing in on what their needs were and accommodating and making sure my agents have the best chance possible to succeed. And it's not just about office space, it's other things as well. But that was just one example of what we were able to do.
Way to be agile.
Yeah.
We've been talking about that, if we look at just office spaces in general, for so long it was open format. And now for those who are operating in brick and mortar spaces, I think that there's definitely a shift of not so much open format. Everybody needs their own little spot so that they have a place that they can call their own.
Mm-hmm. And not only that, the first time I had an agent come back in my office, I did wind up getting COVID. So
Oh my
Oh my
gosh.
gosh. Oh my gosh.
There's that too. So, I'm going back into
Minor detail. Well, you just said something that kind of resonated. You were talking about I guess the gift of listening, right? And not talking so much. I was on a Zoom meeting or a video meeting yesterday with a group of people, and there's an agent that I highly respect. She's not in our market, but she was talking and she said, I have a big sticky note on my computer that says wait in capital letters. Now, when you first hear that, I'm like, oh yeah, that's awesome. Okay, just stop and take a step back. And she said, it stands for why am I talking? And she said it was super pivotal in this time because she was talking. She's like, the gift of listening is such a gift. And so she's got this big reminder where she says, wait, and I thought it was one thing. She's like, no, it's a reminder for me to listen. And so I've been kind of, like nibbling on that a little bit over the last 24 hours going, wow, okay, so I'm going to have that big sign here too. But you're right, listening as opposed to talking, you're learning a whole lot more, and you can help and you can pour into and engage a lot better than if you're just talking the entire time.
Yeah.
So how has your business evolved over the last 6 months or at all in 2020? I know you've been up to some really great things on the business side.
Yeah. So team-wise, we're the same size we were when we entered 2020. When I launched the brokerage, partnered with Side back in January, we had 3 agents, and now we've got 9. So we've continued to grow through the pandemic, and it's been it's definitely been a learning experience. Like some of the agents that we've brought on, like it took maybe 2 or 3 months before I met them in person. And for me, that felt really weird because I am very much like, come into the office and hang out and like go to lunch and go shopping. I don't know, like we'll go do some fun stuff. And so it's definitely changed in terms of the way that we're doing business. We're just more intentional with where we're spending money. We retracted from some areas in order to double down in others. I found myself really needing a little bit more guidance and a little bit more structure and someone to coach the coach because the coach was getting tired. So back in June, I hired a fantastic coach, and she's really been guiding us through a lot of the ups and downs that COVID has brought. I'll be really honest when I say, like, I don't have all of the plans. I don't have it all together, but having a sounding board to run those ideas off of and to give me kind of some of that, to fill my cup back up where I've been pouring out into so many others. It's been so beneficial. So we really haven't taken down our ad spend any. We're doing a little bit less digitally, but we've invested in the coaching and in systems and making sure that we have really, really good automation with how we are working with our clients.
Elizabeth, we talk a lot on Leadership from the Heart about being those strong leaders. It can be okay to say, I don't have all the answers. Right. But frankly, that is how the show was birthed. I mean, it came from exactly that question, is Elizabeth and I on a call and saying, okay, now what? We have a lot of people looking to us for answers and we don't have them all, but we're going to show up no matter what. And from the outside looking in what you're doing in your business, we see that. We see you show up. So kudos to you for realizing you don't always have to have all the answers as long as everyone shows up together.
I admire those that don't have all the answers or that acknowledge that they don't have all the answers, right? I kind of turned off by those that are like, I've got it all together and I figured it all out. I'm like, well, we might not have a whole lot in common. So it's failing forward, right? I mean, we're all trying to figure this out and navigate life together and business and the world and kids. And it's failing forward and learning from others. And, I might have the answer to one thing, but there's a better way to do it. So it's being open-minded, always learning.
Absolutely.
Always learning. Let's talk about your Facebook group, Nicole Lopez. You did something incredible. Actually, you were the Inman Innovator Award winner, were you not?
I was. Yes.
Oh, cool.
Yes. Yay.
Okay, so share with us. We want to hear it. We want to hear it all. We want the tactical. We want the whole story behind it.
Yeah. So back in March was really when COVID started affecting the bulk majority of the major markets around the country. And for Houston, we're Texas, and we like to do things our own way. But March is when the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo rolls in, and it is a huge thing for those
it's a big deal.
Yeah. For those people that are watching from other markets that have not done the Houston Rodeo, foot traffic through the month-long event is around 2 million people, if not more. There are over 250 vendors. The rodeo runs every single day. There's huge entertainers. I mean, like everybody from George Strait, Willie Nelson, Cardi B, like everyone performs at the rodeo. And so they made a decision to close down the rodeo very abruptly. At this point, there had maybe only been a couple of confirmed COVID-19 cases in Houston, but I mean, everybody is jammed in a stadium with 70,000 people watching a concert. It's not a safe environment, not a safe space at that point in time. So they closed it. But when they did that, the vendors, a lot of them are traveling vendors. A lot of them were not set up for e-commerce. And the majority of them spend the entire year assessing their inventory and bringing in items specifically for this one trade show. Like this is their entire year. This is what gets them from red to black to green. Yeah. So we were watching some news stories, and the vendors were just in tears. They were crying, and a lot of them were like, I don't know if we'll ever come back from this. Like we now have this surplus and everything's closing, and my storefront is now closed, and all of this. And so a good friend of mine from high school, Kara Adams, reached out to me. I had posted on Facebook, like, hey, does anybody know if any of the vendors are still in town? Like, would love to go support them. And she said, why don't we create a Facebook group? So we worked together. We created a Facebook group that was called Houston Rodeo Vendors. And within 24 hours, we had 30,000 people that had joined that Facebook group to support the vendors. We didn't even have all of the vendors in the group yet when people were like, yes, let us in. And that has quickly grown to incorporate a lot of other festivals that happen in Texas. So Austin City Limits and South by Southwest and Round Top and Warrenton and all of these different, shows and markets that travel around Texas. And we have provided a platform for them to be able to sell their goods, to be able to communicate with their customers. As of today, we have 175,000 shoppers, and we have around 125 active vendors that are selling their goods. And traceably, because not everybody gives us their numbers, but traceably, we have done almost $5 million in sales through the group. And we also provide technical support for them. We've helped them set up websites. We've helped them become better with e-commerce. The majority of them had never done a Facebook Live. Us in real estate, we're like, Facebook Live, that's easy. But it was a great opportunity for us to engage in our community. And for me, I don't go in there and post that I'm a real estate agent. I don't go in there and post that, I've got this amazing brokerage or I've got these amazing listings, because that's not the place for it. But what I do hope that comes from it is brand and face recognition, because we're in there posting every single day. And it is another full-time job that we took on top of, being real estate agents and moms and, everything else. But,
those little details, Nicole.
But it has been extremely rewarding. And to know that we were responsible for saving some folks' businesses, especially ones that are local here in Texas. Small business owners are the heart and soul of our community. And so being able to help them has been really amazing.
What's really cool about this is it's bigger than your community. So when all of that happened, and Renee, when she's talking about the rodeo, it's a statewide thing. I mean, there are things that people will travel for. Well, that's one of them. But you're right. Not only did the Houston rodeo, I mean, it shocked everybody when it shut down. But then you have Austin, where we had all of our big events being shut down. Our rodeo shut down, South by Southwest, ACL. And like you said, it was devastating. Mm-hmm. What I thought was cool, and I didn't even realize it was you until, we knew that you were coming on here. I was like, oh my gosh, this was so cool that you had an issue in your small community, but look at how it's impacted and it's cascaded out. We talk about cascading effects all the time.
Mhm.
You were reaching out all over the state. So people will see brand recognition and they will
Mhm.
see name recognition, but they're also going to research the people who are behind that. Right.
Mhm.
So I guarantee you, they're like, oh, what do they do? Oh my goodness. And so it's going to continue to cascade out as you grow this thing. But the lives that I hate to say it, but the lives that you've saved, their livelihoods that you've
Mhm.
saved, not just in one community, but all over the state, has been incredibly impactful.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Like,
Super. Well, I mean, it was super awesome when we saw you guys just jump into action. I mean, and that's what we've seen over and over during our conversations, but even around the world where there's a need and there's something going on, and instead of people saying, "Well, that's not my issue," they're like, "How can we help?" And they jump into action, and people just come in and collaborate together. So that's so awesome. $5 million is amazing, and you're right; they're not giving their numbers, but that just makes me smile from head to toe.
For anyone watching who has ever asked, how do I create a Facebook group? Or for those who have created Facebook groups, we fully understand how incredibly long focused you need to be and how incredibly challenging it can be to authentically earn the audience, right? Is to actually earn the growth that can take place in a group. Facebook groups are amazing. To hear you share your numbers, to say in 24 hours you had 30,000 members, Nicole, that's so incredible. And I think that for those watching, they should really pay attention to that. Is a skill set that you saw a need. And without having all the answers, you got into action. You didn't know what the next step was, I would imagine. You just dove in.
We did. And the day that we started the group, Facebook actually had a glitch in their platform to where we couldn't auto-approve members. And so the 3-person admin team and myself had to manually click in all 30,000 people. And it was quite a thing. But now there is a profit center in the Facebook group. And so there are memberships that we now offer now that the vendors have been successful. And from that profit center, in the wake of Hurricane Laura, we were actually able to establish a nonprofit to do rescue and recovery work. So that has allowed us to now do Texas Relief Warriors. So we have Texas Festival vendors and we have Texas Relief Warriors. And we started that about a month and a half ago. We got all of our nonprofit stuff set up, and we've been able to send almost $50,000 in donations to the areas affected by Hurricane Laura in Southwest Louisiana. 50,000 bottles of water. It's just been, it's been such a rewarding process to see that, the work that we put in is now shifting and it's helping others in need now too. So it's become this, it's become full circle for us because it's allowing us to do what we love. And for the 3 of us that are involved, that's really been, uplifting and helping our community.
That's incredible. I'm so incredibly proud of you and your focus in that. I also think that for those watching, use this as an example that we sometimes feel like we're just going to plant seeds, and sometimes that seed may grow and continue to flourish, and it may take some time, but we're still planting seeds. Mm-hmm. You have just been planting seeds all over the state. And we know from the real estate industry, you plant seeds throughout the whole industry, but you're really leading the way. So I hope that you've taken a minute to give yourself a little pat on the back.
Oh, thank you. But I think that this is replicatable. I think that at that point in time, there was a distinct and urgent need for that, and the consumers grasped on to that. But I do think that, as a local ambassador for your community, starting a Facebook page and contacting local restaurant owners who may still be struggling and say, hey, if we can do this special on Tuesdays, do you want to be our featured restaurant on Tuesdays, and make it like, Heights Area Restaurant Group, and put that out there and just see what happens. You never know unless you try.
So what are you going to do with this now? I mean, obviously, when the world comes back and opens up and they have the rodeo and things again, what are your plans for this? And how are you going to keep it going? Are you going to expand? I mean, because it sounds like it's now you're doing hurricane relief, and it's just awesome to see what's going on. But what's the big picture for that?
Yeah, we are going to keep it going. We have no intentions of closing the site or the shop down. This is going to be long-term for us and also for the vendors, because we don't know. The one thing that we learned March to October is we don't know what we don't know.
Yeah.
And so we're definitely going to keep it up and running because we don't know what's going to happen in 2021. And the fact of the matter that even our vendors don't know what their 21 is going to look like. We can't quit on them. We're not going to do that. And we've also already been in talks with the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo as to how we can partner up. So they know that we have the online platform and they have the actual in-person event. So even they've understood the power and the magnitude that social media marketing and Facebook can have as it relates to their vendors' businesses. And so, this is long game for us. Luckily, there's 3 of us that run it, and it's just me.
I love. What has been your number one lesson you've learned through the process?
There's been a lot. I think it's just not be afraid to take the risk and to help other people in their time of need.
Yeah.
That's really been it. Putting yourself out there is never a bad thing when you have the best intentions. And even if it doesn't work out necessarily, like you can go to bed at night and know that you had the absolute best intentions in doing the work that you were doing that day.
Yeah. Another good reminder that you mentioned earlier is this has nothing to do with real estate, right? Mm-hmm. And so it seems almost that we wouldn't have to mention, of course, you're not posting in these groups about real estate. There's no mention of real estate. Mm-hmm. It's about relationship building. This is about relationship building in your community and being the mayor of your town or your community, whatever that community is. Also a resource. Like we talk about it all the time is we want everyone we work with and our customers to know you can call me for anything. We should be connectors, right? It doesn't necessarily need to be like, do you want to know who my favorite landscaper is? How about give me a call and talk to me about resort recommendations or restaurant I want it all. You can call me for anything, right?
We're the human Rolodex is what I always say, but nobody ever knows what a Rolodex is anymore. So it's like, maybe I'm aging myself, but you want to be that person. But you know what I love that you're doing is you didn't do this as a business, ploy. You didn't do this to get your name out there as a real estate agent. You did this authentically and as the person that you are to truly help people. And people are attracted to that. People are going to be attracted to who you are and what you've done. And because of that, business is going to grow. If you had tried to do this as a business plan or, hey, this is what I'm going to do for a funnel, my marketing funnel, it would have never, it might have for a small period, but it would have never succeeded or exceeded your expectations like it did. You're changing people's lives and they know all these people that you've touched, they know that you did that for the right reasons. And you'll get more recognition and response for that than money could buy, so it's that authenticity. Renee's right, it's building the relationships. But the way you do that is by being true to who you are and true to others and being authentic. And I'm thinking about the numbers and it's just amazing in such a short amount of time what you guys were able to accomplish.
Thank you.
Just so you know, I'm over here trying to celebrate a few hundred in a few months. Nicole's pulling out 30,000 in 24 hours. Just saying.
And I don't even look at numbers because I have no idea what the heck y'all are doing. So, it works. Y'all are the winners. Y'all are the winners.
Yeah.
I call Nicole for all of my social media engagement questions. I messaged her recently. I'm like, I have a question about Instagram, because she's also really good at Instagram, which I'd love to hear. What are the top 2 suggestions you have about the way you run your Instagram account? Is amazing.
Thank you. So for me, Instagram is a little bit more raw. It's a little bit less polished. I think right now, especially, people are tired of seeing like everything being so beautifully polished. And they want to see authenticity, and they want to see what your daily life looks like, and they want to see what you're doing with your family. They want to know who they're doing business with. And so my number 1 would be, don't be afraid to be yourself, especially dealing with Instagram. And then also use a content calendar, schedule your stuff out. My Instagram stories are all over the place. I don't schedule those. But other stuff, other forms of content are all scheduled. Our True Houston Instagram page is 100% scheduled. And we did, during the pandemic, actually hire a social media coordinator to help us with that. Yeah, just be yourself. That's huge. Nobody wants to see the polished turd anymore. They want to see what the turd is.
Yeah, that's the way to put it. That sums up our.
You'll get to see all of it if you follow me on Instagram.
Okay, so now we got to go there. So TikTok.
Yes.
During COVID, and I think this was actually while we were all in quarantine.
Yeah.
You just decided one day to start TikTok. First of all, share with everyone how they can connect with you there. I do not know even the language of TikTok, but I only went and watched yours, and your TikTok was hilarious.
So you can find me on TikTok. It's the same as my Instagram handle. So it's _Nicole Lopez. Yeah, and it was really spawned by my daughter.
We were talking about our girls, and they're all, it's all about the TikTok.
Like, if I have to do this, like this dance again, I'm going to go crazy. But it was a whole little subculture that I wanted to understand. When my kids get involved in something, I always want to understand what it is, right? Like, my daughter wants to play Roblox. All right, cool. Mom's going to play Roblox for a little bit. Like, I want to understand what it is that you're doing.
Yeah.
And so I hopped onto TikTok. And it was really funny. And I found out that there was this entire subset of really cool 30 to 50-year-old moms that were just like killing it on TikTok. And so I just decided to give it a try and do some voiceovers and do the whole like, dub and dance and all kinds of craziness. So yeah, you can definitely see me dancing. And it's a really interesting platform in the fact that, you post something on Instagram or you post something on Facebook, and it's not likely to hit 100,000 or 10,000 views. And within my first couple of weeks of using TikTok, when I had found my niche market, which is what we do as real estate professionals, right? Like, we go after that niche market. When I found my niche market on TikTok, I was getting 100,000 plus views on my content on TikTok, which was crazy. So I've been so busy with the nonprofit and festival vendors that I've abandoned TikTok for a little while. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting platform, and I've been really happy to see real estate professionals incorporate it into their business. I mean, when you create a TikTok video, it auto saves to your phone. You could post it on Instagram, you could post it on Facebook. So that content just doesn't have to live on one platform. It can kind of spread out wherever. And again, you're showing them who you really are, because it takes some guts to be goofy on camera.
But you just pointed out an important tactical piece of advice, and that's that you can repurpose content. I do that same strategy where I love Instagram for editing purposes. So I'll go into Instagram stories, and I use, like, there's a myriad of editing that are quite dumb proof, because I am not an editor. So you can get in there.
Fun with Instagram stories a lot.
I love it because it's easy. It makes you feel like you know what you're doing, and you don't have to know what you're doing. But then I really found out, like, Elizabeth, what did you say when you first learned about, or when you first came to Facebook? It was like a moth to a flame. Is that what you? Is that
Oh
you
no,
usually?
a friend. So I was like the last person to join Facebook. I was like the anti-Facebook person until 5.5 years ago when I joined EXP Realty. Everything was on Facebook, and so if I had to know what was going on with our company, I had to be on Facebook. And so a client of mine said, I mean, they all knew, friends and clients are all the same, you know that. They all knew that I was so anti-Facebook, and they said, "Oh my gosh, you're a caveman who found fire." And I'm
Caveman
like,
who found fire.
and I'm like, yes, it's so much fun. And yeah. So I get it, but I watch you, Renee, with the stories, and I'm cracking up.
Oh,
Well,
you're
I felt like a caveman that found fire because when I realized I could create content within Instagram stories and then download it
yeah.
and put it on Facebook stories. And now get this, I'm only a little bit excited about this. Forget it. I'm over the moon. LinkedIn stories.
I saw you on there the other day. I was like, here she goes.
So happy about LinkedIn stories. So now I'm taking that. Now it's not all content parlays from, you can't take Instagram. We're not going to talk about polished turds on LinkedIn.
Don't do that on LinkedIn.
No, but my point was that you were sharing, Nicole, that's so valuable is to utilize the platform. You can create content in it and not even post it there. I created an Instagram and then I download it and put it somewhere else.
Right. Absolutely. And some of my other favorite story, I love to do story content on Canva. And then also there's an app called Over. I love that one as well because they'll do like little video graphics and it's super easy to use.
Over,
Over, and you can actually overlay your logos into stuff really easily.
That's good to know.
That's one of my favorite content creation apps. And then also, shoot, give me 1 second. Name has ghosted me.
I know. I'm over here like writing it down.
Over. I'm like,
Over.
I know. Quick. Quick.
Okay, I like that one too. It's easy. Now, if I can do it, anybody can do it. Yeah.
Quick. So what's Quick?
So Quick is a little photo video app. And what it'll do is if you have an iPhone and you have your live photo feature turned on when you're taking pictures with your phone, that little live photo is actually a tiny little video clip, right? And so what Quick does is it pieces together those little live clips and it really makes it look like you have this just beautiful, well-curated, seamless video that then you can use for content. So that's really awesome. Like if you have like a team event, right, and you're taking pictures, it'll actually look like a small little video of, the get together or the party or the open house or whatever it is that you're doing in your market to market yourself. So,
well, and what's great about it too, Renee, is you can put all the music that's already set up. You can pick different themes, and you don't have to overthink it. And it's just like you click a button, and you're not having to snip things, and it just makes it really, really simple. So I like that's one of them that I will use from time to time because I'm not real good with apps, but I can't wait to look over the Over one.
Over, fantastic.
Over.
Yeah.
Well, Nicole, we did not prep you for this question. So I hope you better hold on to your seat.
Ready.
Elizabeth and I ask all of our guests to share their thoughts on this, and that is, what does leadership from the heart mean to you?
I think leadership from the heart, it's a lot of it is about respect. I'm reading this book right now. Actually, I have it open. It's called Carrots and Sticks Don't Work. Anybody read that one?
I have not.
I've never heard of it.
It's building a culture of employee engagement with principles of respect. And that's what's got me really on the respect kick right now. And they go through an acronym for respect in the book. And it's recognition, empowerment, supportive feedback, partnering, delivering appropriate expectations, consideration, and trust. So RESPECT. And I feel like if you embody those qualities as a leader, you are leading from the heart.
Wow. I love that.
I love that. And I love that book. I can't wait to
Can you give us the title
Check it
again?
out.
Yeah, it's called Carrots and Sticks Don't Work. There we go.
Okay, good.
And
I'm taking all sorts of notes from you today, Nicole.
I know.
actually a book that was recommended by my coach, and it's the latest research on what really gets people to go the extra mile. And there's it's very heavily based in psychology. So like Maslow's theory of hierarchy and all of these different principles that kind of are the reason why we're wired the way we are, and then how you tie that into leadership of an organization. And at the end of the day, it boils down to respect. It's respecting yourself, respecting your business, respecting your agents, respecting your employees, and respecting your clients. And that's a leadership from the heart for me.
That wraps it all up, right? Respect. I love that. I don't think we've ever had any answer regarding respect.
I don't think so either. And I love that. And I just love that we've been able to get to know you more in this last hour. And I'm just blessed that the people we come in contact with all over the place and the things that they're doing. And, you know, Renee and I do a lot, but it always makes me, I don't know about you, Renee, but it always makes me want to do better and, you know, challenge myself and empower others more. So thank you for spending your time with us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's very awesome to be a part of this like power girl group that's going on.
Yeah.
Loving it.
Well, when before the call, we were talking about how I'm from the area that well, I'm close to where you're from.
Mm-hmm.
So next time I make it down there, I'm going to make sure that we grab coffee and get to see you face to face.
Yeah.
I'd love to visit.
I know you got 4 kids, so we'll scratch the coffee and do wine.
Okay.
Oh, even better. Even better. That is why we're going to get along just fine. So we might have to get Renee to fly in too for that one.
Listen, I'm getting ready to fly. I said I'm getting ready. I actually texted Elizabeth that the other day. So, Nicole, we wish you so much continued success for yourself in True Houston. You are a leader in the industry with whom we have a lot of respect for. You inspire us. Thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies, so much.
Take care. We'll see you soon.
See you guys soon.